This is the most westerny of wear I could manage. It's the same shirt I wore in my first Wild West Exodus video. Because I used to have a hat, but it didn't survive the move.
Yeah, you decided that you just didn't think you'd ever wear a cowboy hat living somewhere that doesn't have Stampede for 10 days a year.
I'm very sad about it.
And yet here we are, a year and a half after the move, and you're just like, this is the one time.
I'm totally going to buy one to wear whenever we play Wild West Exodus from now on, though. It's going to happen. Howdy, folks. My name is Teri, and this is Nathan.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about Wild West Exodus today. We did a video several years ago with a very different version of the game, talking about why you should be playing Wild West Exodus. We're back with another video telling you why you should be playing Wild West Exodus, because it is an incredible universe. I love what Warcradle has done with it, and it is something that I think people should definitely look into if you are into, like, steampunk cowboys and, like, a really interesting universe.
And if you're not into sci-fi cowboys, just close the video now and walk away, because we're about to geek out about them.
Sci-fi cowboys!
Sci-fi cowboys!
Okay, so when Nathan went to Gen Con, you told me you had been watching, the development of Wild West Exodus. You're kind of, like, not great about it. I told you that I'd seen the booth there. And on the family Sunday, you took our daughter and you guys went to the booth. It was an incredible frickin' exhibit, like, from them. Their presence wasn't even on the map, but you couldn't miss it because it was, like, right in between the play area and the vendor hall, and the booth was so beautiful and thematic. They'd done a great job.
Yeah, I mean, they make their booth at cons, and it was the same at Adepticon, but they make their booth at cons look like it's this old westy kind of outpost building. So you really can't miss it. It's the only thing in a gaming con that, like, looks like wood. Like, really, like, it is 100% unique. So, yeah, went to Gen Con with the kid on Family Day. Had no intention of playing it because I had already written the game off. Warcradle did an open beta, and they posted some kind of comments that, in hindsight, very good, but just at the time, I was not filled with confidence. And so, trying to find you were working the con, as you work cons.
I work cons.
So when you're like, hey, I need, like, an hour or two, I was like, come on, Alora, let's go walk the con, and we'll look at the vendors, and we might buy some stuff. It'll be great. And lo and behold, the first booth we see is the gigantic Wild West one. So I go over, and I'm just kind of nosing around, looking at their studio models, because the paint jobs they have always have are incredible. And they were just kicking off a demo game, and I was watching, I was just going to watch, and then the guy offered to, like, let me jump in, so it was, like, me and another just random guy, playing the intro, and within, like, 5 minutes I was hooked. And this intro lasted, like, 40 minutes. And God bless our daughter for being, like, patience of Job, because she knows
she's a gamer kid.
She's a con kid, and she knows that if she's good enough, our own feelings of guilt for that, like, 40 minutes of neglect will usually result in us buying her something that she wants.
And there is, like, a whole vendor full of things she could want, so it was great.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we played it through, and that was when I kind of realized the game was magical. And so much better than first edition, which is hard because
we loved first edition.
We loved first edition, and our only complaints with it was a lack of balance.
It's a power creep issue and some tier issues.
So for us, our thoughts were, when Warcradle bought it, was great. We can finally get a rebalancing and the FAQ that this game has desperately needed for years. But Outlaw Miniatures they stopped caring about the game, and so they let it get that bad. And then when they announced that they're building a new system from the ground up, and I was not a fan until I played it, and then I was a huge fan.
It's so funny. It's one of those things where, like, you came back to me afterwards, you're like, okay, so we need to get the new Wild West Exodus. I'm like, okay, then this is just gonna happen. And so we have the starter set. We're gonna unbox it for you now. We're gonna show you what's inside. I want you to see the beauty of their casting, because I have been so blown away by what they've done, for hobbyists in terms of, like, creating this incredible universe. We've sat in on the studio talks. I'm always into what Stuart is saying about how he's shaping this universe. I love it. I'm a huge fan. But then how they translate that to models is incredible. And the cast quality has not diminished in any way in terms of their plastics. I
mean, like, let's call it how it is. Outlaw Miniatures probably had the second best plastics in the market.
Yeah.
Only because no one will ever beat Games Workshop. They're number one. They'll always be number one.
Yeah.
Accept it and move on. But after Games Workshop, I put this small, little, tiny, like nothing of a company that had a tremendous Kickstarter for number 2. Their plastics were gorgeous. So
detailed and beautiful and easy to assemble. Like, tooling was beautiful.
Yeah. And sharp and detailed. And I was worried there'd be a drop in quality, but not at all. Like, new Warcradle stuff is as good, if not better, than what Outlaw could do. So they are still number 2 in the marketplace when it comes to quality of plastic kits. And it's crazy.
Yeah, so,
in my unscientific opinion.
Well, I mean, I think also, like, for me, one of the things that cemented it is we had 2 Nemus. One of them was resin that we got at the last Adepticon, so Adepticon 2017. And one of them we got the Nemu from when you did the demo, and the quality did not diminish between the 2. Like, with them painted now, you couldn't tell. Mm-hmm. So, it's what they've been able to keep in terms of detail, and then the tooling, and then when you fit the thing together, like Nemu's riding a frickin' raft on a wave, and you're just like, how is this
it's like
possible?
A metal steamship deck and a wave crashing against it. It's incredible. And also, I want to say, single character sprue plastic. Who other than Workshop does that?
It's incredible. So we're going to tear into this box. We're doing 2 cameras, all fancy today. So look, there's the box. It is beautiful, by the way. I love the detail on the box.
Okay, first full disclosure, there was more stuff in this box, but when we opened it, we couldn't fit it back the way it had been packed. So it's even why with the lid sitting on, there's like a good gap of like half an inch at the bottom where it just can't go all the way down.
That's why it looks so funny, but when you get it, it's so beautifully packed. It's kind of insane. So you get the rule book, which is kind of important. And you get the full rule book. Like, it's an actual rule book, has lore in it.
Yeah.
Has the rules, obviously.
Has fluff, has descriptions of every faction. Rules, like pretty much every minis game nowadays. Mm-hmm. Core rules are free to download online, so even if you just want to give them a read and see if you like it. Yeah.
We've got the cards, which I think are really, again, characterful in terms of their presentation. Like, I love it when you have
so that's
like,
not even a unit card. That is a
theme card.
That is a theme card for building your posse out. Because one of the interesting things that 2nd edition Wild West Exodus has done with list construction is you start by obviously pick your faction, pick a boss that you like, and then the next option is, do you want to take a posse, or do you just want to take another boss? So you can just be like, hell yeah, let's Tombstone posse this up.
Oh, so amazing!
And just take like everyone from the movie Tombstone. It's super
We're totally doing it.
Right?
Kilmer,
but the fact that it's the 6-shooter and the bullets, it's the nice details on presentation, and then even when you look at a character card, again, so
there's the Jesse James character card.
Stick with that 6-shooter mechanic.
I love it.
That aesthetic there.
And then they've got the rules on the back as well.
Most of the rules that you need there. The only rules that are on the back of a card that are not printed out in full in the card are generic special rules that kind of apply to everybody's. And even for those, they have unit common rules. They included a card here that has them all, so you don't even have to. Yeah. You don't even have to worry about it.
So they've got the common rules. Again, it's very accessible, and I think that's the nice thing. You read through the rules, you reference them when you need to, but for the most part, everything you have is on the play surface, and you can always refer to that. So the art on these cards, just stunning. Like, the production value is something that, like you saw on the outside of the box, you see it in all of the elements of the starter set, and you see it in their, to me, it demonstrates care. And I think that's really cool. So let's get into templates. Every game, man. Every game. They kept the bevel edge bases, though. the bevel edge bases that I loved about...
Yeah, you know, you look at those just as it is, and you're like, okay, it's a base, but I find that bevel edge, the fact that it does bevel in the recesses, when your model is painted and your base is done, and, you know, even just a simple black rim on it just makes that bevel edge, like, it just makes the mini pop.
Now, I'm going to pull this away so you can see. Look at that plastic. It is freaking insane. That sprue is so packed. This is a half sprue. It's crazy how much detail they're able to squeeze on this thing. It reminds me of sprues from, I want to say Games Workshop circa 2007, 2008, when they started, like, there's a change, a marked change in their sprues. This is what it looks like to me, that same technology and that same packaging. And
that is the new Warcradle edition. So those are the canine, basically like robo-attack dogs.
Robo-attack dogs! You guys! Robo-attack dogs!
Which was a new edition by them, so that's the new sprue. Interestingly enough, even when you look at and compare it to the other sprue in here, which is from the old first edition starter set, so it's Jesse James, Wyatt Earp, Frank James, Doc Holliday. You put them side by side. Yes, the color is slightly different. That could be age related, first of all. But in terms of how packed it is and how detailed all of the pieces are, there's no difference. Their Warcradle has stepped up to the plate and knocked it out. I love it.
I love it, and I'm so thrilled with it. Dice. Game is played with D10s. And these are, like, we have some fancy Wild West Exodus dice, and we've got these new ones with spades on them.
I'm not going to use these dice, and I will show you exactly why I will never use these dice.
Oh, my.
Because the one is one thing.
Is the Wild West Exodus symbol.
No, the one is the ace, the spade, with the skull. The 10 is the Wild West Exodus. But even after a 40-minute intro game with these dice, I couldn't keep them straight on what was what.
You're so easily confused.
I am so very easily confused. So I'm going to stick to typical D10s because they won't confuse me. But
okay.
They are cool. They are cool. I'm not just saying.
That just means we don't have to fight over them.
They are yours.
I'm totally taking them. And we got some cardboard condition tokens and a ruler. Like, it's funny to me that we live in a world where I take for granted now dice and rulers are included in starter kits because I have, like, I don't know how many tape measures and how many dice for all the games we play, but
I mean, we have so many D6s that we use them as a decoration in our home because it's just a large vase filled with hundreds of D6s.
I think they look better than plastic lemons. Just my thing. So, condition tokens, obviously, cardboard is standard, but, like, again, it's nice that they give them to you and you don't have to, like, I think one of my biggest peeves is when they print them for you in the back of the rule book. They then expect you to, like, photocopy them and then cut these tiny circles out of printer paper, and you're just
a book by ripping the sheet out and then poorly cutting circles. Because, like, listen, I never learned how to cleanly cut a circle in elementary school, and I haven't practiced. I haven't practiced since then, so they ain't gonna be circles.
And we didn't crack open the an adventure card decks. This is really amazing to me because I think,
So this is one of the mechanics that I think is magical about the game. First and foremost, is there are 2 decks of cards, which feels finicky, and that was one of the things that I had read in the rules, their beta rules ahead of time, that I was not a fan of. One of those decks of cards is, as you can see, it's just action points, and they are listed from 1 to 5, and then there's also a number here. The number flip, like, at the beginning of the turn, highest number wins initiative. But what is beautiful about it is when the turn passes over to you, because it is an alternating activation game, you will flip over one of those action point cards and you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 action points for your next activation. And it adds in that layer of strategy. So it's not just, I'm going to activate Jesse James, he's going to go pew, 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 go whole ham, because if you're like, awesome, Jesse is next, you flip a 1. Jesse James with 1 action point is not doing work. So you're just like, oh, snap. Now I have to activate something else and hope Jesse's still in such a good position. I love that choice.
Guts and Glory cards, which you described to me from Gen Con, really intrigued me. I love the idea of... So one of my favorite mechanics in war games is making you, like, make hard decisions. When you give wargamers the option of really just having to choose whether they're going to go for points or they're going to go for effect on the table. Mm-hmm. And it's a really hard choice to make, right? So it's almost like sometimes you go for the pyrrhic victory. Sometimes you go for the win, right? Like if you play really conservatively, you're going for the win. But if you go all out, you might be able to pull it out of the jaws of defeat. Yeah. So and that's what the Guts and Glory mechanic does, right? You have, the Glory where you score points if you achieve it, right? And then the Guts you get to spend the card, and you get benefits for spending the card, but you no longer are able to gain the glory. And it's such a brilliant mechanic. Well,
especially because
adds tension.
Yeah, if you look at their scenarios, all of their scenarios are symmetric. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not like a game like Bushido that's asymmetric, where it's like, these ones are worth 1 point, these ones are worth 2, these ones are worth 3. When you look at Wild West Exodus scenarios, most of them are like, 2 points, 2 points, unless you happen to get all the way across the board, punch my guys off, in which case, sure, you get 4. But if you're just doing that camp 2-2, 2-2, 2-2, 2-2, the game's going to be a draw unless you score glory points off of those cards. But, you only have a finite hand in a turn. And so, if you only have Jesse James left to activate, going back and you flip that 1, you might be looking at a card where all 3 of your cards can give additional AP. So now you're like, I could give Jesse 4 AP, because there's no limit. Spend them.
Spend them all.
But I could only give him 1 AP and hope to score all 3 of these. And those 3 brilliant. Points could be the difference between victory and defeat. Or do I give him 3 and hope that I can get an easy one? And it's those choices, because they're hard choices, because every single choice you make, you're only going to be about 60% sure was the right choice, but it's always a good one. Whether you go for the points, whether you go for the gut side, and
it's one of those things too great. Where, one of my favorite things to do after games is actually dissect the game in my head. And so it gives you a lot to chew on as well. It lets you digest. And when you have someone who you can process with, it's that much more fun. So yeah, that's Wild West Exodus. I know Nathan's got some Warrior Nation he's painting up. I'm working on some Lawmen right now. And hopefully we can get you a game pretty quick. So thank you so much for watching. I am Teri.
I'm Nathan.
Until next time.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers. See you soon. Oh, don't forget, do all the YouTube things. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And let me know in the comments if you want to see things from us. What you want us to do.
See, you just threw me off with the outro, because normally you say you'll see you soon, and then I finish with cheers. But you, finished mid-sentence, so then there was that awkwardness, and ugh.
Ugh. So disorganized. We're profesh.
Consummate professionals.
Consummate professionals.